It is a cold and icy day in colonial Boston. The date is March 5th, 1770. A confrontation between local working men and red-coated British soldiers is escalating. The locals know that the king has sent these soldiers to police their town, and they resent it. Soon an angry mob has gathered, and the soldiers feel threatened. They open fire. When the smoke clears, 5 colonists lie dead. This incident, known as the Boston Massacre, is one of many confrontations that eventually led the colonists to revolt against the power of king and parliament. Throughout the colonial era, Great Britain increased its control over the American colonies. This was possible because of the unchecked power of the British Parliament in colonial matters. In drafting the Constitution, the framers went to great lengths to limit and separate the powers given to the 3 branches of government: the executive, legislative, and judicial. They did this because the lessons of history had instilled in them a profound mistrust of absolute political power. They were also influenced by the writings of political theorists such as John Locke and Baron de Montesquieu, who had written about the necessity of dividing authority in government. In the Constitution, the framers attempted to give each branch sufficient power to carry out its responsibilities, but they also put in place a system of checks and balances to ensure that no branch could abuse its authority. For example, Congress enacts a law, but the President can veto that law. Congress can override the President's veto by a 2/3 majority in each House, but the law is still subject to constitutional review by the Supreme Court. The framers understood, however, that divisions in authority are not always clear and that powers may overlap. As a result, they and subsequent generations have had to rely on the common sense of those in office to resolve these difficulties. Some issues transcend the simple division of powers. For example, Congress has the sole power to declare war.
The battle has been joined. No nation will be permitted to brutally assault its neighbor.
Yet the President is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. In times of war, or during the threat of war, the question of which branch has what powers becomes more urgent and unclear. Some tension between the branches is normal and even desirable. In fact, each branch's protection of its own powers is part of an informal set of checks and balances. But there are times when the system seems to falter. What happens when one branch refuses to act, or blocks another from acting, or attempts to enlarge its authority at the expense of the others? There is no formal procedure under the Constitution to resolve these crises.